Welcome to the new year, 2026, and another Proline session. My goodness, it's been a break. I haven't done this for a while. Another Proline Academy session in our series for Strata Council members. So as you may know, I'm Catherine Squires-Basson. I'm the Director of Culture and Community here at Proline. And we offer a number of different opportunities for learning for our Strata Council members and for our residents and our owners in our Strata community. So we have a bunch of new sessions that we're planning over the course of this year that we're really excited to bring to you. These sessions are opportunities for you as council members to hear directly from service providers and professionals and to learn more about these specific items that impact your stratas. As always, if you have any questions or suggestions regarding these educational offerings, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I really appreciate having your ideas. And in fact, this session came directly from a council member's suggestion. Couple of housekeeping notes. Today's session is being recorded, so we will send a link out to everyone who's registered. That means you, once the recording has been processed. So there will be an email coming to you sometime next week with a link to the recording, and then you can share that recording with other council members or people that you think would be interested in the information. There will also be time for questions at the end of the presentation. Please use the Q&A function, not the chat, to type in your question so that they can all be addressed at once and that other people can also see your question, so that if they have the same question, they don't have to type it out themselves. One more thing, this is a webinar, so no one can see or hear you as the attendee. Only the presenters are on the screen, so you can relax. If you do need to talk to me or to the other presenters, you can send me a message in the chat and I can respond to you there. And I think that's it for housekeeping. And so I'm going to hand it over to Christy Tamburi, a Strata property manager and also one of our managing brokers here at Proline, to introduce today's speaker.
Great, thanks, Catherine. So today we have Darius, and Darius, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name because I know now I'm going to goof it up. So he will tell you his full name when we get to him. But Darius is with Solucore, which is an elevator consultation service that services the island here. He's been working in the elevator industry for 10 years. Prior to getting into consultation, he was an elevator mechanic, so he knows the background and the mechanics of how elevators actually work, which is obviously important in a consultation service role. And he's been with Solucore for about the last year. It's also important to note that Richard Cook is also with Solucore. He is the island guy. He's been on the island for about 35 years. Prior to coming to Solucore, he worked for Coney Elevators and now has been with Solucore for 6 years. So we're well supported on the island. And Darius, I'm going to pass it over to you and we'll get the PowerPoint going. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen and we will launch our PowerPoint.
Right, perfect.
And the power is yours.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction and thanks for having me today. My name is Darius D'Cunha. It's not, sorry for disappointing you. I feel like the suspense, you might have thought it was like a proper tongue twister, but I've been in the elevator industry for 10 years. I started in England and as an apprentice and then became a mechanic. And then I actually had the opportunity of working in Bermuda. So I worked for Otis Elevators in Bermuda and then moved to Canada in 2024. So luckily I had the opportunity to work for Solucore. Working on the elevator consultancy side is something that I really enjoy, and I really find it more rewarding supporting building owners, property managers, giving clients what they actually need. And as you all probably know, that the elevator industry can be complicated sometimes. So I find that there's a lack of transparency sometimes with elevator contractors, providing the information that we need, giving the building the support they need. And at Solucore, we just try and filter through that for you and make sure that you're getting the service that you need and what you pay for, what you're contractually obliged to be getting. So I'll be giving you guys like a little bit of information on elevators and modernizations. Hopefully it will be helpful for you just to have a little bit more information, and it should apply, a lot of the information should apply to your buildings and the elevators that you've got and are dealing with. So there are a few different types of elevators. You've got these elevators, well, more chair lifts for people with physical disabilities, limited use access elevators, which are usually, these are the two types of elevators that you won't often see, but are usually for freight and moving people with disabilities and other items. The main two that you'll be seeing or dealing with are hydraulic elevators, which work using hydraulic fluid to move the elevator up and down, and the traction elevator, which is the most commonly found elevator. So as you can see in the middle, you have the elevator car and it's attached to ropes, and there's a counterweight on the other side. I'll give you a bit more information on that. So, the normal way where we distinguish between two types of elevators, the main types anyway, are passenger and freight. So here you can see that the passenger elevator, I know that probably in your buildings people use passenger elevators as freight elevators, but they're mainly supposed to be for passengers, and then obviously the freight elevators you'll usually find them in commercial buildings for moving deliveries, and they're not supposed to be for public use. Maybe one person in there for garbage and things like that. So one point I wanted to bring up is that for users and for strata members, a lot of the time we have issues when people are moving in and moving out. There is an option. You can ask your elevator contractor to provide some information, training, and keys to use the elevator on independent service. So there's a quick key switch inside the car, which allows you to take control of the elevator, rather than holding the doors open or propping the doors open. That's often an issue that causes callbacks and can shut the elevator down. And so you can always ask your elevator contractor, or obviously ask us, and it's important that you instruct the users to use it properly. But if you put the elevator on independent service, it means that you're in control of the elevator. The doors will stay open and it won't move floors until you carry out the correct procedure. So we often try and get people to use the elevator that way to prevent breakdowns. And this is just preventing these unexpected callbacks and issues, which is really important. One of my last jobs, we actually reviewed all of our callbacks, and in Bermuda anyway, it was 70% of our callbacks were related to doors. And obviously that can be down to wear and tear and the age of the equipment, but it is a part of the elevator which is subject to user interference and misuse. So I know that you will probably have experienced it, but if there are ways to minimize these type of callbacks, it benefits everybody. So yeah, I think that's really important. Oh yeah, I've got a nice animation here of how a hydraulic elevator works. So if you're building, you should be used to that certain noise now with hydraulic elevators. Usually the machine room is down in the basement or the pit at lower levels, and that's how it works. So the hydraulic oil will be pushed up, elevator will come up, and then the valve releases for the elevator to lower, and the oil will come back into the tank. So yeah, from the slide, this type of elevator is mainly used for low to mid-rise buildings, and actually there are a lot on the island that we've been looking at. There's a lot of elevators on the island which are sort of aging now, and especially with the hydraulic elevators, we're having a lot of people reach out to us to support them on modernization projects. Yeah, so I feel like this is quite important because there's a lot of elevators that are coming to that age of modernization now, and with the type of applications and buildings that you have here, it will mainly be hydraulic elevators that you have. So this is important. I hope you enjoyed that nice animation. Controllers. And this isn't just specific to a hydraulic elevator. There's like we need one for all elevators, and the controller basically processes calls. It controls speeds, and you can adjust everything on there, and it monitors the safety circuit, so doors, door openings, safety circuits, and all of the switches, and keeps track of where the elevator is in the hoistway. One point I wanted to bring up here is that proprietary equipment versus non-proprietary equipment. So this is really important to us as elevator consultants, because when you have a proprietary, not just controller equipment in general, it means that the software, the spare parts, and the equipment, you can only source them from one supplier. So it can become difficult when you're planning to modernize, or you have a breakdown and you need to get parts, and even it can even tie you down to one provider, having proprietary equipment. So at Solucore, what we like to do is when we're working on modernization projects, we ask elevator contractors to provide us with equipment that is non-proprietary. So that means that you're not going to be tied down to one company in the future. Companies will be able to maintain, troubleshoot, source parts for your elevators in the future. And that's really important. Yeah, that's something to bear in mind when you're thinking of a modernization, just because it can be difficult. We've had a company saying that their equipment's non-proprietary, but then their software is proprietary. So they're the only people that can do the repair. So it becomes really messy, and sometimes with proprietary equipment. So, but with us, we'll be able to provide equipment that will be maintained by everyone.
Can I jump in and ask a question that I might be jumping the gun here and it might be covered in another slide, but can you just clarify exactly what modernization means?
Okay, so an elevator modernization, so an elevator modernization is when you get the controller changed as well. You can do upgrades, and so often you'll replace a door operator, and that would be an upgrade, or the door equipment. Even for a hydraulic elevator, you can replace the cylinder, and there are you can do fixtures and other individual items, and a control. Once you upgrade the controller, you have to bring the rest of the elevator up to building codes. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, done on elevator controllers. This is a little bit more, another nice photo of elevator tank. So usually the power unit will be inside of there to pump the oil. And then on the right, we have a nice diagram again to show how the hydraulic elevator works and the cylinder, in-ground cylinder. So I guess something to be aware of is just oil leaks can be big issues, especially with aging hydraulic elevators. And as you can see from the diagram on the right hand side, there are lots of areas where oil can leak from. So I guess that's important to you guys, and that's really much to say on this slide. And then this is the cylinder. So on the right hand side, you can see how it's protected and it's in the ground there. They should have PVC casing to protect it. And that's the piston, obviously, that raises and lowers the car. Okay, now moving on to traction elevators. Yeah, so in comparison to hydraulic elevators, they're used for mid and high-rise applications. And there's these are the three main versions. So you can have two main versions in terms of the motor. Geared machines, gearless machines, and machine ringless applications, which are sort of in the last 25 years. Machine ringless, I'm not sure if anyone would have seen them before. It means that you obviously, from the name, you don't need a machine ring. Everything's in the hoistway for you. So a little bit more information here. For the geared elevator, you've got the shaft that connects to the machine. The machine uses worm and gear reduction to pull the sheave, and the ropes will travel over the sheave and connect it to the car on one side and a counterweight on the other. So usually the counterweight's around 60% heavier than the car, and that makes up for when users start getting in the car. Yes. This is a photo of a geared machine. And obviously, although it looks pretty simple, yeah, the type and manufacturer and components obviously can affect how serviceable and upgradable the system is. So yeah, there's this is probably the simplest depiction of his machine. And yeah, a couple more lovely photos. So you've got the hoist ropes. You can see how they're attached at the top of the car. I could have really put some nicer photos in there. Yeah, the counterweight you can see in the middle photo. So this must be around the halfway point in the hoistway. So you can see the counterweight there, and then the safety devices underneath the car. So I guess, yeah, just for a little bit of information, a lot of the time people ask me if one rope was to fail, would the elevator fall? That's not really the case. You see on the left hand side, there's 6 ropes there, and one rope can hold the elevator. So it's got the strength to hold the elevator with one rope. And then on the right hand side, you can sort of make out the safety device there underneath. That's just one of the safety devices should the car fall. There's an overspeed governor, which is a separate rope attached, and if the car does overspeed, it pulls and it locks, so the car will stop moving. So there are so many safety devices on elevators now, and it's not as exciting as like Mission Impossible or the movies, unfortunately.
That's probably good.
Yeah, I mean it's good. I mean people think it's rainbow as well, but yeah. So for gearless applications, the shaft connects to the motor directly. Ropes travel over the sheave and they're connected to the cart on one side and the counterweight on the other. So it's same as the geared application. In this case, it's used in higher speed, higher rise applications, and they are more expensive, the gearless elevators, but they're smoother in ride. The ride quality is better. They're more efficient, energy wise as well. So it's a bigger initial investment, but for long term, they are better. But yeah, I'm not sure if that would really apply too heavily to the island, but just a bit of information. And yeah, actually, I was trying to get some photos because when I was in London, I worked on some huge gearless elevators at Canary Wharf, and I was trying to get a photo from my friend, but I was unable to. So these are just other gearless elevators that I haven't worked on, unfortunately. But there you go. And then machine roomless. This is there'll probably be some machine roomless elevators here on the island. So I'll have a photo next to show you. Actually, I'll show you the photo while I talk. So here, as you can see, they're pretty new, as I said. They're around 25 years since we started putting in, well, the industry started putting in machine roomless elevators. The machine is in the top of the hoistway. Most of them are gearless, although some early generations were geared, and they can use ropes or, in this photo, belts. So there are belts that drive and are attached to the elevator car. So these are used for low to mid-rise buildings, and obviously it's a good space saver because it eliminates the need for a machine room. Architects like it, so they can have more space for everything else. It does come with some complications because they're really difficult for repair and maintenance work. Obviously, if you have an issue with the machine and the elevator is at the bottom of the hoistway, and even working on them, a lot of the time, if there are issues with the motor, it's difficult to repair them. So repairs can be costly. Downtime can be increased as well. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Obviously, if you're in a building with a machine roomless elevator, it's difficult to change now. So you have to deal with what you've got, but it's something to bear in mind for maybe newer buildings. Just a couple more photos. Don't really have too much to say here. These are all different machine roomless applications again. Yeah. This one's an Otis. This is Otis as well, I'm pretty sure. Okay, a little bit of information about the TSBC. You should all probably know them. They oversee all the elevators, licensing, regulations, and they carry out the inspections on your elevators. If you have any issues or accidents, it's your responsibility to report to them, and allow them to come and investigate and give their overview and give their opinion on what needs to be done. So we often deal with them with modernisation projects because they will come in, and before we carry out our final inspection, they'll review the elevator. It's different because they'll review mainly the safety aspects of an elevator, whereas Solucore, as the consultant working for the building, we review the safety elements afterwards. But we're also looking at ensuring that all the finishing is done and all of the, I guess the other items not related to safety have been installed as we've asked for it. So yeah, it's just TSBC are the real bosses around here, but yeah. So this is just a little bit more information about elevator maintenance and what you should really be expecting from site staff and your elevator contractor. So there is the TSBC do provide guidelines on the maintenance control program. I'll show you a little table of the maintenance control program afterwards in one of the next slides. But yeah, maybe a bit of information that you might not be aware of that site staff can and should test the emergency phone system and the alarm bell as well. So, I mean, your elevator contractor will be testing that during every visit, but if there is anything that you're just to make sure for peace of mind, I would recommend checking it once a month, and definitely the alarm bell as well, because a lot of the time it can be no one's fault that you switch provider, and because an elevator emergency phone line only calls out, like I say, once a month, we have a lot of issues with phone line providers where they see a pretty much unused line and they'll just cut it. So it might not be the elevator contractor's fault, or it might not be anyone's fault, but it's always good to make sure, because when you do need that, you should obviously have a functioning phone and an alarm bell to make everyone aware of what's going on. A little bit more information about other inspections and testing that's required. So aside from the monthly regular maintenance visits from your elevator contractor, there's category 1 testing, which is carried out once a year, and as it says here, the TSBC can issue an order to shut down the elevator if you haven't done these. So these are testing of like the safety devices that I was speaking about earlier. And then the category 5 testing is really a more intense test, which obviously every 5 years, and that will be like full load testing, full speed testing, just to ensure that the elevator can stop and is safe at these full speeds. So be aware of that, because a lot of the time with I guess with property managers, stratas and stuff, it might come up as an unexpected cost that you haven't budgeted for. So yeah, just a little bit of more information. That category 1 test is required every year, obviously, and it's always it's a good idea with us. If you're working with Solucore, we can send out automated reminders to you to let you know in advance. But obviously, if you're not dealing with Solucore, it'd be good to know when it's coming up, just so you're not surprised with any unexpected costs. So yeah, this is a version of the maintenance control program. So just for some information as well, these records need to be kept on site, and they should be completed by your provider on every visit. What I find easy, but more efficient and better nowadays, is that you can request for the provider to email you this information. And I don't know why it's within your rights to get that information. And if you're not, I would advise to ask your provider to send you email reports because sometimes when an elevator goes out of service, if you're working or you're away when it gets fixed and nobody in the building knows what happened, what they did, and if it's going to happen again, it's always good to get the report so you have a better understanding of what's going on. Again, it's sometimes, yeah, the lack of transparency is just really not necessary because it's pretty simple. I'm sure for them it's an automated email as well. But if you're not getting it, it's really good to keep. It's really good to keep records. But you will have a physical copy on site in the elevator machine room if you're ever not sure and wanted to know. Just a little bit of information here on fire testing. This will be tested monthly, and it has a key switch. You might be familiar with these in the lobby area to test a fire recall. Sometimes they're in some buildings, they'll be connected to your fire panel. So the elevator will come to the lobby with the doors open so that people aren't able to use the elevators, but the fire service will be able to. So obviously that's another important thing for buildings to be aware of and ensure that they're tested. And I think the next one, it's just a checklist here. So this is sort of a generic table of what should be checked in these fire testings. Yeah, if anyone does need or would like me to share these tables and the maintenance control table as well, just let me know and I can email that over.
Maybe we can send that along with the Zoom link.
Oh yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay, that sounds good. Elevator entrapments. Okay, yeah, this is important. Obviously, for me, I'm used to being stuck in elevators, but I know it's really scary for a lot of people. So just a little bit of guidance. If there is an entrapment, remain calm if possible, or whoever's in there, try and help them remain calm. If it is life-threatening, call emergency services. It's difficult because, yeah, if somebody needs the help, the emergency services obviously should be called. As an elevator mechanic, it was really frustrating because I feel like the emergency services just like to destroy the elevators at any cost. So it was a lot of repair work, but as I said, the most important thing is making sure that the person is all right. And to be honest, the biggest issues are the most incidents actually happen when people try to get out of the elevator in an entrapment. So it is really important to keep them calm and, as I said, call the emergency services and the elevator company. It is, and as I was saying earlier as well, with all of the safety devices on an elevator, it is extremely safe. The only difficult thing is obviously being stuck in the elevator car. So yeah, just a little bit of information there. Floods. Obviously, yeah, we're in the West Coast. So yeah, in a flood situation, most of the damage that occurs to the elevators happens when the fire alarm is engaged. So sprinklers going off. If you are able to, the best instruction would be to get elevators away from the lowest floor, because obviously, yeah, we need to keep that away from the water. And of course, you need to contact the TSBC to let them know what has happened and your elevator contractor to see the extent of the damage. So yeah, after the incident, as I said, discuss with the TSBC and your elevator contractor, and yeah, obviously, Solucore, we get involved with a lot of insurance claim work, and reviewing invoices or proposals. So maybe after an incident like that, the elevator contractor will say this is what needs to be replaced and repaired, and or a lot of the time it's a big number and there are maybe items that are questionable, which is why we're here. So we review their proposal. We'll go to site with, normally I like to go with them, because we can both look at these items together and agree or disagree on what work needs to be done. So yeah. Just there. Okay, some little facts. The traction elevator is more likely to fall up, not down, because of the counterweight being heavier. Elevators are statistically the safest way to travel. The world's population travels in an elevator more every 3 days. More elevators are installed in China annually than are in service in the province of Ontario, and North America has 1.5 million elevators. An elevator technician is the most likely person to be injured on an elevator. Yeah, that makes sense. And the world's tallest test tower is in an abandoned mine in Finland.
Huh,
Yeah,
who knew?
who knew? I hope everyone's excited about these elevator facts. So now a little bit of information on how we can help. So we do maintenance agreements. So one of the, well, yeah, you probably know, having a maintenance agreement on an elevator contractor's paper has a lot of terms, clauses that supports them rather than you. And there's a lot of vague wording. So basically we'll put together a contract with terms and clauses that protect the building. For example, we expect the elevator contractor to spend a minimum amount of time on site each month. If they don't, they'll be subject to fines or penalties. There's a lot more clauses and reasons to terminate the contract, which we don't like to use, but it's good to warn the elevator companies and hold them accountable. And just other things like if parts are obsolete on a elevator contractor agreement, you would have to pay for replacements, and our contracts make sure that onus is on them. So that's really important, to have a high level of protection and understanding for the building and the owners. And we do our regular work is like maintenance auditing, so we'll review the condition of your elevator, and also we'll review the quality of maintenance that you've been receiving from your provider. Obviously, it's a really difficult thing because most people just see inside the elevator and the elevator machine room maybe, but there are so many components that you don't see and you're not aware of. Not just in old elevators, but in newer elevators, sometimes the provider thinks because it's new equipment, they don't really need to do much for the first couple of years. But even dust and dirt, debris can really affect the elevators, and it's so important to protect your investment, knowing the costs of work like this and how important the elevators are to your buildings. So yeah, we do elevator condition audits, which are for buyers and sellers of buildings, and both our maintenance and condition audits will provide budgeting and numbers. So if you're thinking about even how much it would cost, we can give you a rough budget and a timeline of when you would need to do this work, or when you would expect to need to do this work. And then as I was saying earlier, modernisation is getting quite busy for us on the island. So yeah, we'll provide the tender and make sure that it includes the equipment that you need as the building, rather than what the elevator contractor wants to provide you. We'll tender this out to the elevator companies, and then we'll review the bids. We'll provide our advice and analysis of the bids, and then we'll award that, and we'll manage that until completion. So we'll carry out regular inspections, meetings between the contractor and the building, and then we'll carry out a final inspection after the TSBC to make sure that they've installed everything that was paid for and to our level of finish, what we expect. Again, just another service we offer just quickly is Evolve. So this is pretty unique to Solucore, and it provides like year-round support to the building, which I think is really important. It includes a yearly maintenance audit, which is our independent review on the condition of the elevator, as I said, and the quality of maintenance. We then have quarterly meetings with the elevator contractor and our client to review callbacks, maintenance, and inspections and any other issues that you've been having. And also, you can see from the photos here, the screenshots that I've pulled, that this is an online portal, Evolve. So on here, the Evolve system uploads all consultant and contractor reports to our system unedited. So it allows us and you to access the information instantly. Our system then provides it in this lovely data form and provides lots of reports, so you can be as specific as you want in terms of looking at downtime, comparing it against other buildings. On the left-hand side, you can see, but on the right-hand side, you can see how it compares how the elevators performing against each other, and just if you have like problem elevators. So this service is like around $1,000 a year per elevator, and we have a lot of stratas, property management companies, using it at the moment, because it allows, with Solucore involved year round, it's really good support and provides oversight to everybody. As I was saying earlier about the documentation, all of the documentation is uploaded here. So like I said, with the Cat 1 testing and Cat 5 testing, you'll get an automated email from our system. With callbacks, if there's a callback on the same elevator more than 3 times in a month, you'll get an automatic email. So that will go to the contractor as well. So that will remind them that this is now becoming a problem, and they need to act on it. So effectively, it's like you have a consultant 24/7, even when me and Richard are sleeping. Yeah, I think it's really important, and actually the regular meetings are really important in pushing the elevator contractor to make sure that they're doing what we expect of them. So yeah, that's it from me. So
Awesome.
any questions or food?
I'll steal the mouse back,
Sure.
and we will stop sharing so I can take a peek at what questions have been submitted. Oh boy, okay. Are counterweights up to 1.5 times the weight of the empty car or fully loaded car?
Empty car, yeah. So that when people get in the car, max balance out.
Perfect. Okay, so here's a two-parter. A few months ago, the elevator would not come to any floors. All 3 outside doors were closed. There was no answer to the phone number on the control box in the garage. Luckily, the site sweeper was able to suggest rebooting the system. There was a button on the side of the control box. It needed to be pressed a few times over 10 minutes. There was a clunk and everything worked. Any thoughts on why?
It sounds like maybe the governor or a safety was engaged they sometimes have a reset button on the side of the controller, but the clunk might be the brake dropping out, but I would definitely advise to get your contractor in to review that, because just resetting something is not great.
And then the second part, when opening one of the two concertina interior doors, it always jams at the top. This door is the wider of the two doors, and the pieces always get hung up. Can this be adjusted?
Site super says no. Well, yeah, the site super saying no, I would just, I'd challenge that definitely, because they weren't getting hung up when they were installed. And the 99.5% of the time you've had the elevator, you haven't had these problems. So I would challenge them. As I said, the door issues are one of the main issues that we have. So I definitely challenge that. And sometimes it can be the mechanic. Unfortunately, there's different mechanics with different level of knowledge. So we have mechanics that we prefer, and we have mechanics that we would not want on our sites. So I would always challenge and make sure that you can have somebody else have a look at it, because I don't believe that particularly. So.
Thank you. Who is Osprey Elevator, and who do we contact for inspection and maintenance? Are you familiar with Osprey?
No,
I don't know that I've heard of them either.
No.
Cindy, I would suggest maybe just touching base with your strata property manager, and we can kind of dive into that post academy session today. Next one, once we are in one of those 25-year iffy contracts, is there a way out?
It's 25-year contract is a very long one. A lot of the time there aren't many outs. So with modernizations, with our specification, when we tender it out, one of our terms is that if you are bidding on the modernization project, you forego your maintenance contract. So that's often a way that we help clients get out of their maintenance contracts. But it is difficult. They do, on their paper, they make it really hard to get out of. So I wouldn't recommend going into a contract of that length. I'm sorry you're in it. But yeah, like I said, the Solucore maintenance contracts is a really good way to go to protect the building. If you're looking to do a modernization, we might be able to find other options there.
And then how long does the hydraulic shaft last?
Maybe the cylinder. So yeah, the hydraulic cylinder, usually at least 20 years. When I was talking about it earlier and showing you the diagram, they should be PVC protected. Some of the older elevators don't have that protection. So it's really hard to give a solid answer on that. Sorry. It depends on the cylinder, the protection, the age, and the use. But yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, so that does it for questions. I'm just going to quickly check the chat to make sure we don't have any lingering questions there. Okay. For older buildings, is there a service to assess elevator for health of supplier vendor, i.e. parts, as well as recommendations when a strata should put into the contingency reserve fund or strata depreciation report, i.e. how to forecast if the elevators are approaching end of life or no longer able to get parts?
Yeah, so hopefully I answered that during the presentation that we provide building condition audits and maintenance audits. So in that we'll put in our recommendations. We'll detail which components are obsolete, and we'll then provide you a budget in terms of numbers, and then a timeline of when you should expect or when you should need to get this work done. Oh, there below it said, actually, I think you're answering it.
Perfect.
Oh, good.
All right. We are in a townhouse complex with 14 units, 3 floors each, where each unit has its own elevator. Are these sort of personal elevators subject to TSBC regs as well?
Yes. I mean, there's obviously 14 units that are using these elevators, and the public will be using these elevators, guests and contractors and visitors. So yeah, they would be subject to TSBC.
One of your slides mentions backup power. Is it recommended for modernization to add backup power in case of power outages? And how much does this cost?
Yeah, so backup power is up. I would recommend it. Yeah. Oh, I think this is Brian. Oh, I think I know Brian. Hey, Brian. Yes, it depends on the type of elevator, how much it would cost, but yeah, we can definitely look into that for you.
Great. Do you recommend using the elevator key for all deliveries to avoid door holding?
This is the difficult part because if you are going to use the elevator key on independent service, it's really important to give the right instructions to the users. I mean, like sometimes they could leave the key in there and carry on their day, and then everybody else that uses the elevator thinks it's out of service and will call someone in. So I would recommend it. I do recommend it, but as long as everybody has the knowledge and understanding and can instruct people how to use it properly.
Excellent. All right, we'll give it a minute here for any further questions, but those are all of the questions that were popped in the Q&A feature. Anything else you'd like to add, wrapping things up? I think this has been really, really helpful. I know from working with a variety of our clients that elevator operations are obviously incredibly important, particularly as our population continues to age, but the contracts are difficult to navigate. Okay, one more here. Do you suggest any special maintenance for a single elevator building? Great question.
I mean, all elevators should be maintained well, in my opinion, but I know it's really important. I guess the best bit of advice that I could give for a building with a single elevator is to make sure that you're aware of any work that needs to be done and to be proactive. So as I was saying about our inspections, it's really important to have an idea of what needs to be done and when, because if the elevator in the building does go down unexpectedly and you have downtime, that's probably the worst position to be in, because you're sort of forced to upgrade with your maintenance provider at whatever cost. And obviously people don't want to be in the building without an elevator and without being prepped for that. So yeah, just being proactive would be my answer.
Okay, and that does it for questions. We'll give it maybe 30 more seconds, and then we'll hand it over to Catherine to wrap things up.
Well, I can keep talking and see whether any questions
Sure.
do come in. Yeah. Thanks so much for that presentation. It was interesting. And thanks to everyone who attended today and for the great questions, which always add so much depth to the experience and the presentation. As a reminder, I did say, and I'll say again, we did record the session. We will be sending out a link to the recording in the coming week. So that will be next week sometime. Feel free to share that link with other council members or other people you think would be interested or need this information. We'll also be posting the recording to our YouTube channel, so you can always find it and past sessions there. And if you have any questions or comments, please complete the survey at the end of the session, or please feel free to reach out to me directly. You've got my email. we're always working on new sessions, so you will see more about them in the coming months and what we have planned for the rest of the year. And yeah, thanks again for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. There's, let's see if, oh, there's one more question. See, I talked long enough for one more question to come in.
All right, one more. Is it difficult or expensive to decommission a lift which is not being used at a property?
I'm not sure about the expense, but I don't think it's that difficult. You would need the TSBC to come in to assess it themselves and to instruct the elevator contractor on how they would like the elevator to be left. So yeah, reach out to the TSBC.
Great, thank you.
All
All right, Catherine, I think that does it.
I think that's it. We're going to call it. Nice work, guys. Have a great afternoon.